Today's episode, it is the 10-year anniversary of Brexit. What did this decision do to the UK, to economies really around the world? It is such an important reminder how intertwined politics, money, and the whole economy is.
The biggest IPO ever, SpaceX, is not doing too well. I didn't invest, humble brag. And we break down why it's not doing well, and also we reveal some shocking news that came out the day before it went public.
There are 130,000, mostly men, who are going to be showing up to the FIFA World Cup and refused entry. Why? It all comes down to financial abuse and not paying child support. We're going to talk about the story and why it's such an important signal that people need to start stepping in and making sure that people actually pay child support. Welcome to The Curve Weekly, where we read the finance news so that you don't have to.
I'm Vic Harris, a finance professional who has had a career making money for other people.
And I'm Sophie Hallwright, ex-TV radio producer who was really sick and tired of not understanding the economy, so we started this podcast.
But before we dive into today's headlines, here's a word from our sponsor.
This episode of The Curve Weekly is made possible thanks to Pathfinder KiwiSaver Plan, helping you invest alongside your values.
We're really excited to bring you the ethical hotline where you can ask all your tricky ethical questions.
Each month, Pathfinder will answer the most interesting, popular, or polarizing question. To submit yours, follow the link in the podcast show notes. Pathfinder Asset Management Limited is the issuer of the Pathfinder KiwiSaver Plan. A product disclosure statement is available at pathfinder.kiwi. This is probably quite out of touch to complain about the heat when I know a lot of our audience are based in the Southern Hemisphere, but...
When it's the middle of winter, I know, and we're like, it's so hot, bloody heat wave.
No, I woke up 3 times to have a cold shower in the middle of the night. So I couldn't sleep. It was so hot in my house. I've got an alarm clock next to my bed and it was 32 degrees.
It's crazy. I'm also sick of complaining about it.
Sorry. Okay, let's swiftly move on.
But you know, like Brits just love complaining about the weather. I saw this meme, which we're going to get into in a second actually, but it was like when the Prime Minister resigns, but all people are talking about is the weather.
Yeah.
It's like,
sorry, Garrett.
So true. But I've been practicing, like I'm freezing, I'm really cold. Oh, I wish I had, a blanket.
You're trying to tell yourself you're cold.
Yeah, and hoping that it would actually help.
You're gaslighting yourself.
Yeah, literally gaslighting myself. Yeah. Like, ooh.
It's so funny.
I saw 2 people faint.
What?
One
You've
in a
seen
pub.
them
Yeah.
faint?
It's like,
oh my God.
Because people are out drinking because it's sunny and you forget it's, yeah.
I've booked a train to go to the country today because my house is absolutely unbelievable. Like, it's actually unbearable because we've got several skylights, so it's almost like being in a glass house. Like, it's so boiling. Anyway, I went to book my train and there was all these warning signs being like, do not travel unless it's absolutely necessary. There's so many people with compromised health. If you're on a train and it was that hot and they didn't have aircon, dangerous.
I have been getting so many Ubers because the aircon.
I did an Uber to work this morning too.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, we found a financial angle for the weather.
So obviously there's Uber, but it wouldn't be me if I wasn't thinking about the financial angle of this heat wave. I was also seeing a lot of posts like cafes were like, look, we can't open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because we don't have aircon, and so our staff, it's not safe for our staff. If London's over a certain heat, then you don't have to go to school or work, or like people have these like policies in place anyway. And I was like, gosh, it must be disruptive. So then I was like, and hot days in the UK cost the economy $1.2 billion a year in lost productivity. Like, you can see why countries in Europe, like Spain, Greece, Italy, they have siestas. I have been so struggling to function and concentrate, and I'm just so irritable. Do not touch me. Do not.
It's so funny you say the irritable thing. I was visiting a friend last weekend in Zurich. I went down to the river. I then went to meet her and one of her friends straight afterwards. And I was walking in this heat, like in such a foul mood.
Yeah.
And I bumped into her, not realizing she was that close. Like, I hadn't mentally prepared to be socially acceptable, or like,
God,
I was so hot and annoyed. And I was like, hi. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And then afterwards I was like, I was so hot. I was like an iPhone that was like overheating to the point of not being able to function. I had to apologize.
Put me in a fridge. Put me in a fridge now to cool me down.
Socially not okay. It's just so outrageously hot.
Yeah, I've got my niece and nephew staying from New Zealand, and so there's 6 of us in our 2-bedroom house. They're like got flannels on them. They're like, ugh. They're like, Auntie Wet, why don't you have a pool? Like just like
I love that you're called Auntie Wit. It's so cute.
I know it's stuck because they couldn't say Vic, but now I'm still Wit.
It's way more fun.
Yeah, way more fun. Yeah.
Auntie Wit.
Everybody is living and breathing this heat wave right now. It's in Europe. It's like we're seeing so many more extreme weather events, and yeah, just like put on your little investing hat. Is there an opportunity here that we can invest in? Is this something that is going to be long term?
I will say, I think most people will be relying on you for that insight, if I'm being completely honest.
That's all right. I'm happy to help. Business idea for anyone.
Oh, what?
Little portable air conditioning units.
Yeah.
The UK would absolutely suck them up.
Even when I was in Switzerland last weekend, my friend was saying that someone told her to put a big bowl of ice in front of a fan or in front
We
of
did that last night.
Did it work?
No, the ice just melted in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Vic, your skin looks amazing. I'm like, oh, it's just the dew.
I'm sweating.
It's the sweat. Perks of a heat wave.
I actually did
I'm
look
like,
in the mirror
amazing.
thinking I look
Thank
quite
you.
good today.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
It's so
like,
true.
this is just like a natural body oil, but it's
Oh my
sweat.
God, it's so funny.
When we have more extreme weather events, there's such a need for energy consumption because you're either trying to cool down or heat up. Whereas like when we're in the middle, you're kind of, you're using an average amount of power, or you're not having to do like these extremes. Like even just ice makers must be on 24/7 right now. I went to get a coffee this morning, like, sorry, we've run out of ice. I was like, oh, we'll see you later. And in true Brit style, we have spoken for about 10 minutes on the weather.
Off we go. Off we go, moving right along.
To some more exciting news. Oh, maybe more. I don't know. It hasn't really got as much attention, to be honest, as the heat wave.
This is important regardless where you are. There's so many learnings in this.
Yeah.
Before you tune out and think, politics, snooze fest, there is so much interconnection between politics and money, just in the same way where you may never have connected the dots between weather and the economy. There's so much we can learn from what's going on. So for anyone that has missed this, we'll give a quick overview of what's going on.
10 years ago this month, the UK actually voted to leave the EU. So it was Brexit.
I believe that was a decade ago.
I know. I remember sitting there when the results were coming through and I was like, absolutely not. I feel like when you're in an echo chamber of your own like community and friends that all kind of think the same way, it's hard to think that there's people sometimes that can think such an extreme different way.
Well, it's like when Trump got into power.
Totally.
And
It's
you
exactly
just
the same. Yeah.
look there at the situation thinking there's just absolutely no way.
Yeah.
And then you forget that you're so surrounded by people who think like you, often wear similar clothes, have similar lives. Like you gravitate towards people that are similar.
And that have similar issues, or like not as many issues, or like, things that don't frustrate them, or they haven't been impacted. And so, yeah, when the Brexit vote came out, yeah, I mean, everyone I was absolutely shocked. But that was 10 years ago this month. And the eve of the anniversary, Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, resigned, which was kind of quite ironic. So the UK will now have its 7th Prime Minister in 10 years.
That's so extreme.
So extreme. If we compare that to New Zealand, we've had 4 in 10 years, and 2 of those have left, like bowed out when they've been on top, not been like the issue with the UK Prime Minister is he was pushed out by his own party because nobody wanted him there. 7 in 10 years. How disruptive trying to bring about change for a country when the average tenure is like, what, 1 to 2 years? Not even that.
And let's link this to investing for a second. So I would say the hill you will die on is invest in founder-led businesses. This is something that you love.
Me
and
just dying?
Yeah, she's like...
On this hill?
She's absolutely...
She was a great friend.
She really cared about investor-led businesses. The reason this is so connected to money and investments is if you think about the whole concept of having someone running a business that owns it, that founded it, they want to see long-term success. So they don't make quick wins. You're not going for instant things that make you look good in your role like you may if you're a CEO that didn't have any equity in a business. It's the same with politics, because if you have 7 people in power in 10 years, the stuff that you can bring in and change is so minute because you're so short-sighted in the decisions you're making for the country. And the UK is in a real debt-ridden. It's really such an issue if you have people in power that don't have the room and space to make difficult decisions to get the country to a new. It's really problematic.
And the UK is in a bit of a dire situation, since Brexit. Like there's so many stats I could get into in terms of, how the UK has done versus the US, and like it's pretty terrible. If you think of the UK as a company, you've got this company that's kind of lost its way. It used to be like the glitzy financial hub of the world. You know, you had a lot of overseas investors and companies setting up here, and it was really prosperous. And now that shine has gone away. It's got a lot of struggles economically. So you've got to find someone that wants to take that on and know they're going to piss off a lot of people, because to bring about meaningful change, you do have to implement some tough things, whether it be higher taxes or tax cuts. That's the hardest part with all these prime ministers, is they try to, then the UK people or even the party themselves get pissed off, and then they leave. And it's a really hard cycle to get out of.
It's so complicated, isn't it? Because it's like, we look at the UK economy and we're like, okay, look, it's not great right now. I mean, there was a time where it was absolutely the most thriving, one of the most thriving economies in the world. Now it's really struggling. And a lot of it comes back to Brexit.
Like, yes, there was some increased taxes, you know, doing trade now with the European Union, etc. But it was more the fact that it created so much uncertainty for businesses that the businesses within the economy, the UK economy, weren't able to flourish and thrive, and therefore hire people, pay higher wages, and that feeds back into the economy. So when you create this disruption, it trickles down. And the same thing with this whole non-dom status, which was...
It will just never not be funny to me.
I know. But essentially, the UK was no longer attractive for overseas people to buy houses here, or, you know, have houses overseas, and I guess kind of spend money in the UK because they were now taxed. And so say if I was like a wealthy person from Dubai and I was living here, and then all of a sudden my tax rate's gone up, I'm moving my fortune, but as well as my family, putting them in schools maybe in, you know, another country. If you just change that tax back, I'm not then moving back all of a sudden. You know, like, those are big changes. And if you have that on, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people, or millions or billions of dollars, like, that doesn't just come back as you change the taxes again. You know, it takes a while. Like, even Portugal, I mean, they introduced some very favourable taxes for tech startups. And this was like a long time ago, and it's still now starting to filter through, and people are like, oh, Portugal's actually a really great place to live, and it's like feeding through to the economy. These things take time. But I guess what I'm saying is 10 years on, and the economy is in a, I would say, much worse position than beforehand. Even if you reverse that decision now, it's not all of a sudden overnight. Whoever you get into power, into politics, and the policy they put in place can have huge ripple effects. The main reason for Brexit was immigration. And a lot of UK citizens were worried about too much immigration, or too many immigrants coming into the UK. Interestingly now, the immigration has never been at a higher level than it was last year.
What do you mean?
So Brexit didn't solve that problem at all.
Oh my God.
So all of this palaver didn't even solve the issue at hand.
Similarly to what we're seeing in the US, with people just get so up in arms about the idea of, it's my country, it's my job, you're taking our opportunity. I just feel like it's such a classic and easy way for a politician to turn people on their side. They know that it's one of those things that irks people, so they use it to try and get people to vote for them.
It's an easy blame. It's not immigration that's the issue. It could be solvable for so many other things, but because this is an easy target, and it's polarizing, right? It's horrible, but it is what happens when economies are not doing well and people are frustrated.
Just want to point the finger.
You want to point the finger, yeah.
Let's talk about Brexit 10 years on, and what the UK actually looks like financially now.
Brexit cost the UK between about 6 to 8% of GDP. That's not like a dramatic crash. It's over a 10-year period. So it's kind of been like this slow handbrake on growth. Before Brexit, the UK was one of the fastest growing economies in this G7, which is kind of the top 7 economies in the world.
What does G7 mean?
It's Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, US. So it used to be kind of the top of this group, and it's now dropped below the middle. Countries like France, Canada, they're all growing, you know, much faster than the UK, which, when you think of the UK, I mean, I still think of it as this financial hub, people walking around in gilets, all of that.
Me too. I mean, I still feel so excited about the UK and the potential over here. But the sentiment generally for most people in the UK is everyone's pretty disappointed and disheartened and feeling kind of sad about the state of the economy and the strength of the pound. It's not great over here.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I just think maybe New Zealanders have this like exciting kind of glimmer in their eye, like I'll go to London, the big bad London, and make all this money. But I still have that sort of mindset.
Same. And then you hear people being like, oh, I haven't got a job and I've been here for 6 months. Like it's, you used to come over here and earn so much and make a real killing financially and then go back to New Zealand. Like you used to come here because it was so prosperous. We also had COVID in the middle of this. We had COVID in the middle of Brexit, which has kind of stuffed up a whole lot of the stats. But since COVID, the UK has grown 5%. The US has grown about 15%.
Oh.
Even house prices, they're roughly up about 30%, but in the US they're up 80%.
Shit.
Since 2016. But if we look at the affordability, so this is like how much of your salary does it take to purchase a house? In the UK, house prices sit at around 8 times your average earnings. And in London, that's about 10. So affordability is still absolutely terrible here in London. In Auckland, that's about 11 times. So you have to have 11 times your salary to purchase a house. So if you're on $100,000 or pounds,
oh my God,
your house prices sit at around 10 times that in London.
Like that's so outrageous.
And in Sydney, it's 14 times.
I mean, I'm not surprised. It would be so expensive to buy in Sydney.
But what you get paid in Sydney is higher also. So the opportunity there is greater, even though it's still 14 times. So it is in relation to
But you could say that about London too.
Totally, yeah. I think the wages is the really depressing part since Brexit. So British workers have been literally living through a nearly 2 decade. So that's 20 years. So not even Brexit, even before that. Stagnation, which means your wages have pretty much gone nowhere.
Is that in 20 years it's happened over here?
Yeah. Because you've got inflation and wages haven't really kept up with inflation. We've had this dramatic inflation. We had like 11% inflation a few years ago. Because wages haven't kept up, wages have stagnated, essentially. So like if we had 3% inflation, and we've probably had 3% wage growth.
But doesn't that mean that you are keeping up with inflation?
You're keeping up, but you're not doing any better.
People may have had pay rises and thinking that they're, wow, I'm doing so much better, but actually they're not because it's just keeping up with inflation.
Totally. Like you could have been on £40,000 2 years ago and now you're on 50,000. You're like, woohoo. But if you actually look at that in relation to inflation, it's actually not a woohoo. If wages had kept growing at their pre-2008 level, so before global financial crisis, the average worker would be earning around £10,000 more than they would today. We are on average all about £11,000 worse off today than we were in 2008.
I'd like to speak to my boss about a pay rise. Victoria Harris, I would like 10,000, 11,000 deposited into my bank account immediately.
This is averages as well. You've got people earning heaps, you've got people earning not so much. Like it's,
Anyone listening to this, if you are not keeping up with inflation or above inflation, keep this in mind.
There was, one takeaway from this podcast. Like, please, please, please either be growing your savings at an inflation rate or higher, or asking for a pay rise each year at inflation or higher. Like, it just, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. It is ridiculous. Okay.
Ridiculous.
This also goes for anyone, wherever you are. This is not just in the UK. Inflation has been insane the last 10 years, 20 years, all over the world. So if you are looking at your pay increases thinking, stunning, look at my little pay rise, how exciting. No. Compare that to inflation and double your pay rise.
This is what frustrates me with some employers. It's like, oh, we'll give you a 4% pay rise. It's like, no, that's standard. Yep, that's off to one side. And it's like, okay, what about me as a person in terms of my performance?
You also then look at businesses that have tried to keep their prices steady because they're trying to not.
It's hard for businesses too.
Because like if we were to look at, for example, things that we sell, we're not raising our prices in line with inflation because it would be way too, people would be like, what? On the one hand, it's like, I fully agree with you, but I do think you need to also look at the context of what your workplace is. Like if you're in a big corporate, kind of different. I think you do need to be aware.
But I think if you are a business owner, you need to factor in.
Definitely.
If inflation goes to 10%, what does that look like in our cost base? But also there's other nifty ways. I remember we spoke to a friend the other day and he was like, when my team hits targets, we give them a week's holiday.
Yeah, that was so cool.
On top, and for them and for younger staff, that's great.
Yeah.
That's such a non-financial incentive that can help people if you can't pay a higher salary.
We have 2 brilliant episodes that we did with Maggie Palmer from Pep Talk Her, and her whole premise is how to get a pay rise, the things that you need to do, what you should be thinking about all year round, etc. So we'll link those in the podcast show notes because she is amazing and it's really practical. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling pumped up and you're thinking, all right, fine, I need to pay more attention to this, but I actually don't really know where to start, really, really good episodes.
Coming up after the break, we're going to give an update on the biggest IPO in the history of the world.
So dramatic.
I know.
Also, your arms crossed looking very serious.
Yes.
And also we've had a very, it's sad, but it's also incredible story that surrounds the FIFA World Cup, child support. It's a whole thing, and we're going to get into that. But first, a word from today's sponsor. I invest so much more now, but I still don't feel great about profiting from companies that I don't believe in. You know, weapons. I personally do not want to be making money from conflict.
But what about weapons companies that supply like both sides of the conflict? Pretty confusing, right?
I know, it's so confusing, and I feel like I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, I mean, 80% of New Zealand investors don't want weapons in their KiwiSaver, yet Mindful Money reports that over $400 million is still invested in weapons manufacturers, which is why choosing the right provider matters, like Pathfinder KiwiSaver plan, which aims to avoid profiting from conflict.
They've been recognised as weapons free by Mindful Money and written loads of blogs on this topic, even covering their position on Gaza, which a lot of people have avoided. So if you want to check out our podcast show notes to learn more, and thanks so much to Pathfinder for making this episode of the Curve Weekly possible. Pathfinder Asset Management Limited is the issuer of the Pathfinder KiwiSaver plan. A product disclosure statement is available at pathfinder.kiwi. Oh, we've got some really exciting news. And I will say, when I saw these headlines, I thought Victoria Harris is going to be absolutely thrilled with this.
You're my biggest hype girl. I love it.
I'm going to do an overview here. SpaceX is one of the biggest IPOs that's ever happened.
Yes.
It had a record spike straight after it went public, which a lot of people weren't expecting. And one of the things that Vic has talked about for the last few weeks on this podcast is be aware that there is a lot of hype going on. There is a lot of hype. And yes, this may have initially done well. Doesn't mean it's going to stay there. We don't know. So Vic didn't buy the stock. So it was one of those weird things. We were talking about it quite a lot within the team and off mic and, are you going to do it? What are your thoughts on it, Vic? And the fact that you didn't buy it was quite interesting.
2 reasons for that. Firstly, it's actually very hard to get stock at an IPO, and particularly an IPO that's kind of the most hyped and talked about and the biggest. The second is I genuinely spent so much time looking at this, and I just could not get comfortable with what it was priced at in terms of its earnings. It's losing billions of dollars. The shareholder structure. There were so many things which I can dig into in a second, but I was like, you know what? No. And if this does really well, I can sit here and be like, no, I, hand on heart, stuck to my investing strategy, which has been tried and true. And hey, if I miss out on something that does well, that's life. There's plenty more fish in the sea.
So Vic landed in Greece last week. Off she was on holiday. And what did she see when she landed?
I landed and I saw that I was up 30%, and I was like, why did you stick to your investing strategy? You get really no, because, but you get really defensive almost. Yeah. And when you're kind of deciding to invest in something, it's like, okay, if this does go up and does really well, I had to get comfortable with that. If it went down 30% or if it went up 30%, how would I feel? What would I do? You kind of had a bit of a plan.
Kind of interrogating yourself. It's almost like you analyze your own psyche in the different outcomes that could happen.
And what price would it get to before I actually start buying the stock? What would need to change? You do this. I mean, we used to do it back in my finance days. You'd have devil's advocate. So you'd pitch an idea and there would be someone's sole job to rip it to shreds. Quite fun.
Oh, I'd love to be that person. I think you'd be quite good at that person too.
How could I be wrong here is kind of what you're trying to think of. The stock IPO'd at $135. It went up to about $200. It's now down to about $154. So it's down about 25%. Still well above its IPO price. So people that bought at IPO are still doing very well. Elon Musk still a trillionaire. I think this is a really good reminder for me and anyone else that missed out. It's like there is so many FOMO hype IPOs. And if we look at the history of IPOs, particularly ones that do well straight out the gates, there is genuinely 99.9% of times a better opportunity to buy the stock at a lower price. There is a lot of hype, and people do buy things that aren't based on fundamentals, and the company is going to start reporting financial results. It could have a slip up, it could have something delayed, and because there is so much hype, that could lead it to not do so well in terms of its share price. I don't know what's going to happen in the short term. I'm glad I stuck true to my investing strategy, and yes, it's still up in terms of its IPO price, but if it had gone down significantly and I hadn't stuck to my investing strategy, I would feel 10 times worse.
If you'd bought SpaceX and it had gone up and then it had gone down, or you bought it and it instantly plummeted, how do you self-regulate? Because it's so emotional.
It's so hard.
Because I would have had my head in a salt and vinegar bag of chips and eaten the entire thing, and then I would have moved on to the giant Haribos and eaten an entire pack.
I've been there. I've definitely been there. Yeah. It's okay. What mistake did I make, and how can I not do that again? And I have done this many times. Bought IPOs at hype and not stuck to investing fundamentals, and because everyone else is and I don't want to miss out. And I've learnt, okay, you did that once. That's okay. You make a mistake, you learn from it. Do it twice. No.
Yeah.
You need to learn. And hey, if you get things wrong, and you will, and anyone will that's investing, you will get some investments wrong. That's why we say diversify and invest in lots of different things. As long as you learn from your mistakes, that's okay. Like, I had some absolute disasters to the point that I didn't even want to tell my boss because I was so petrified. I think the calmness and the rationale, just the pragmaticness of my boss was like, oh, okay, this is okay. As long as you learn and you write down your learnings and you don't, or you try not to make that same mistake again. If you make it again and again and again, and you try and hide it again and again and again, that's when it's like, okay, see you later. This is not for you.
Yeah.
But you also know me as a person. I'm very good at compartmentalizing.
Yeah, it's so scary sometimes. No, you're really pragmatic. You're really good at being logical and compartmentalizing emotion from sensible decisions. Yeah. What we should say before we wrap this up, for anyone that also didn't invest in SpaceX, is this is essentially an enormous marketing campaign to go public. There are PR strategies. There is so much involved in making sure that people feel FOMO. In the same way I look at the Cannes Festival at the moment, and there's all these creators there, and I'm all of a sudden like, why am I not at the Cannes Festival? Obviously, I need to be there next year. It's the same with an IPO. They are being strategic to make people feel like they need to jump on the bandwagon.
Someone said to me a CEO's main job is to sell the business. And I was like, no, they got to manage team. They've got to, and they're like, no, if you're a public company, all you want is your share price to go up. The way your share price goes up is profits growing. But a big part of that is also making it attractive in whatever way possible so that people buy it. So yes, an IPO it's like opening your flagship store. You want to get as many headlines, you want people talking about it, you want FOMO, all of that is so spot on. And continually selling it. You want to update the market when there's positive things. You want to release really good results. I guess with SpaceX as well, one thing worth mentioning, and probably the reason it's fallen over the last kind of 4 or 5 days, is people taking profits. If you made a lot of money during the initial IPO, you're like, cool, I'm going to take some profit now. But also, the day before the IPO, one of the biggest and most influential investment rating agencies, the MSCI in the US, handed SpaceX a CCC rating for its environmental, social, and governance.
What is CCC rating?
It's like, it's the lowest of lowest rating that you can get. Like, it's pretty bad.
Wow.
So a lot of responsible investing, sustainability, ESG funds, like, they cannot own SpaceX. So even though you're coming out trying to sell your stock and sell your company, the fact that Elon Musk has 85% of the voting power, so you're effectively investing in a private company. You effectively have no say as a shareholder. This is kind of what made MSCI give.
So it's not even really environmental. It's actually more focused on
the G.
So ESG, environmental, so like land,
climate, water, planet, all of that.
Social, people.
Yeah. Do you look after your staff? Do you pay them right? All of that.
And then G stands for governance, which is the idea of who is running the business. The idea of having a really not diversified governance structure, so one person having that much control, is not good.
And also the directors on SpaceX are also on multiple other boards that Elon Musk is on. So everyone's like, it's not independent. You're not having having a board is like, there needs to be independent, but they're kind of in bed with Elon Musk. So everyone's like, it's not actually truly independent board. And like, there's so many things. It's almost like if you're investing in SpaceX, you need to realize you don't have the rights as a normal shareholder. You are kind of at the whim of whatever Elon Musk decides, essentially. This was not a good headline to come out the day before you IPO. And also, there's a lot of ESG ETFs that cannot own
of course, they have
SpaceX.
to pull out.
Yeah.
If you are an investor who has particular mandates or really strict rules around, being an ethical fund or investing with a particular lens that's ethical, it automatically discounts a lot of money that would otherwise have perhaps flown into that business.
If you own an ESG fund or ETF, you won't be owning SpaceX anytime soon. If you hold like a broad index fund like an SP 500, SpaceX will be coming your way very soon. If you're thinking about buying it directly, just make sure you're aware you are buying a company that is losing billions of dollars a year, trading at over 100 times revenue, and a CEO who controls nearly 90% of the votes. That's what you're dealing with. So just be aware.
This is a really fun story.
I know.
I saw this and I thought, this is exactly why this podcast exists. Now, Argentina has just used the World Cup to do something that I would say anyone that has a child.
I'm like, how has this not been done earlier?
They handed the US a list of, was it 130,000?
It's 130,000.
Okay. Mostly dads who haven't paid child support and said block them from the stadiums. They're not allowed to go in.
And the preface of this is if you can't afford to feed your kids, but you can afford a World Cup ticket, like,
absolutely
what
jog
the hell?
on.
Yeah. World Cup tickets are super expensive. And if you can afford a World Cup ticket and you can afford flights, why are you not paying child support? And I just think people are so passionate about the World Cup. It's a great way. Imagine if you had a ticket and you got to the entrance and you got denied because your name was on a register of 130,000 people.
Wait, so they buy the ticket and then they get there and they're not allowed in. That's even better.
I know.
So it's not like they can't spend the money. They spend the money and they get there and they're shamed for not allowed to go in.
And Argentina shared that list with US Homeland Security, and the US has been separately revoking passports for Americans who owe over $100,000.
What kind of absolute dirtbags owe $100,000 in child support? That should be illegal.
100%. This isn't a story about football. Like, this is a story about who bears the financial cost when the system fails. It's been a personal issue of, couples probably arguing of, you pay me, no, I'm not paying you. And now it's become a system and being like, no, this is a economic issue. This is something we need to take control of, and we will. And that's what Argentina and the US are doing, rather than being like, you guys sort it out. The financial burden then falls on majority women, because 80% of custodial parents are mothers.
I heard the Shameless Girls talk about this on the podcast. They said it should be illegal almost for a man to leave before a child is 2 years, or they have to pay, they were basically talking about the idea that financially, if someone has a baby and then they're on their own, it is unreal what that's going to be doing to them. But also, the man could just walk away and never pay child support. So to be able to think that this is slowly making its way into the actual financial system, where it's not just a social nicety to pay child support, it's like you have to or you'll be publicly shamed.
I think it should be set up like a KiwiSaver or like a superannuation or pension. If you're earning and it's on a register that you owe 100,000, that's like a debt. You have to start paying it off. It's like a student loan. It's,
oh my God.
You get 3% of your salary or whatever it is that goes into paying this, because the total child support that's owed in the US alone is $115 billion.
From people that just refuse to pay it.
Yeah, people that just refuse to pay. And in Australia, unpaid child support's now being framed as financial abuse, because
it should be.
If child support payments were paid in full in Australia, 21% of children in single mother families would be lifted out of poverty.
This whole FIFA World Cup and calling out the men that are not allowed to go, I mean, it's a signal of a much bigger issue.
Totally.
And it's also just highlighting the fact that this is not something that you can get away with in a relationship setting. You're right. The idea of it being something that's almost registered, like how many kids do you have and are you separated? Cool. This is the minimum that you need to be paying off every month, week, etc. Like hearing you say that, I'm like, why does that not even exist?
And many women don't chase or follow up out of like fear or retaliation or anything like that. So to remove that,
they don't want to be in comms at all with them.
So to remove that and make it a system issue or a policy rather than an individual will sort it out issue, just removes that fear, removes that
that's
drama.
Honestly genius.
When we're talking about men and women in this situation, the reason we're saying, men aren't the ones paying is because that 80% of custodial parents are mothers. So I just want to be clear, it's not like it's solely dads. Like there is probably mothers out there as well, and there's single fathers, and the mothers haven't been paying.
It shouldn't be gendered anyway. It should be if you separate or you're the one to leave. It should be the same if you're in a same-sex female relationship. If you leave someone in a financial position where they're financially in charge of a child that you brought into the world too.
Yes.
It's
totally
like you have a baby. You are financially responsible to look after that child in the world and ensure that it has the basic things that it needs to not live in poverty.
You made a decision to purchase a World Cup ticket. You also made a decision to have a child. So fork up.
Just imagine being the person on the door. Oh, John Smith. No, sorry, you won't be coming in today.
Imagine being on a date and being like, let's go to the World Cup. And then you get to the front and you're like, why can't you get in? Oh, I just owe a bit of child support.
Oh my, I actually feel I would pay to be the person with the list.
You can come in if you pay $120,000 right now.
Yeah, we've got the bank details if you want to transfer.
I mean, we laugh, but it is quite sad, to be honest. It is very sad. I'm just glad that there's a massive sporting event that everyone is so passionate about that can literally put rules like this in power and bring about change.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So we have a community question from Miriam. She says, hi ladies, firstly, you do an amazing job, thank you. Thanks, I'm just going to continue to read all the nice stuff out. I'm not going to skip through that. The Curve Weekly is the highlight of my newsletter week. Oh, so she reads it. Cool. If you don't get this, you can get it via the link in the show notes if you don't get our newsletter. And the podcast makes my drives so much more interesting. Thanks for the confidence that you've given me to ask for more money. Oh, quite a timely, very relevant community question. And look elsewhere, I've just landed a new job with a 40k pay rise.
Go, Miriam.
Sorry, this is amazing. The female leadership team looks incredible and I'm so excited. I was fine in my old job, but fine isn't really a long-term strategy.
We did not make this up, by the way.
No. My question is, we can comfortably live off my old salary, so what's the best way to manage the extra income? This is a stunning question. More into shares, build a bigger cash buffer, both. I'm determined to not let the new lifestyle earnings creep in and just spend it, because honestly, how many pairs of shoes and activewear sets does one person need? Laughy face. I am obsessed with everything to do with this message. That's amazing. Firstly, congratulations on the new job.
Yes,
absolutely.
Amazing.
The fact that you have recognised you're in a position where you're about to potentially drift into lifestyle creep is so good, having that awareness.
Rather than doing it and then being like, oh gosh, it's so much easier to nip it in the bud than try and revert back.
I would like to say, as someone who does not have as much money as I would like, and if I am being completely honest, if I had more, I think it would bring me a little bit more happiness. I would put a little bit of that into those things. So for example, for me, if it was actually I really want to up my class pass, because if I go to a class 3 times a week, I know I'm going to feel better, be happier. I would look at the parts of my life where I know that I'm not spending on, which would bring me more happiness. And I would add bits to that, not in a crazy way, not like I need to get 5 new pieces of jewelry or anything like that, but that's what I would do. And then I would be putting all the rest of it into investments. If you have enough of a cash buffer, for example, if you have 3 or 6 months of what you need, your essentials, and you feel really comfortable with that buffer, I wouldn't add more cash for the sake of it. If you look at what you have as your emergency fund, and it's perhaps slightly less than you would feel comfortable with, then sure, build it up to a place that you'd feel better about. Other than that, if I didn't need the money for my, immediate lifestyle and I had my buffer and I wasn't in debt, I would be investing almost majority of what my pay rise was.
When I first read this, my first reaction was like, invest, obviously. But then I was like, no, just chill, Vic, just chill. And It depends on what their goals are or what they want to achieve. Of course, if they've got some short-term ones, then maybe put it into more high yield or high returning investments. Say they want to go on a holiday or have a wedding or something that's, or buy a house or something, then maybe put it in things like term deposits or high returning savings accounts, just because you kind of want to protect that money, because the market goes up and down and you don't want the market at that point to have gone down and then you've kind of lost money, so you're worse off.
So I think the steps here would be, firstly, look at your spending and your lifestyle. Is there anything that would add more happiness or joy in a not over the top frivolous way? If there's more that you could actually put within your budget that would, you think, significantly improve your life, then I would start with that. I just wouldn't take it to the extreme. Don't add money into your budget, the lifestyle creep, just because you're earning more money. Don't just chuck an extra 200 in your travel fund or an extra £200 or whatever it is into your beauty account just because now you have a pay rise. I would say look at what you're spending, and if you were to increase any of those areas, would you be happier?
I personally think probably simple answer to this, if she's happy with her spending and her lifestyle at the moment, put as much as you can into shares and investments. If you've got an emergency fund as well and you're happy with that, put as much as you can into your investments. If they're short term, maybe a little bit into, to cover those in a high yield savings account. But the more that you can put into your investments, the better off you'll be long term. If you don't need the money for 5 years, you should put it all in, investments. Yeah.
If anyone else has questions, either comment where you're listening. If you've got any comments or things that you want to share, we love reading those comments. It's so great. If you have a more personal question you want to DM us, you can, or email. Actually, please, can someone send a voice note to the hotline? I'm obsessed with the hotline. It's so fun to listen. Oh, Vic.
Yes.
Next week, an exciting week for the Curve podcast. There's going to be 2 of these episodes a week. So we're going to 2 Curve Weekly, so Monday and Wednesday. If you want to find out what is going to be in those episodes or what it's going to look like, highly recommend following the show, following or subscribing wherever you listen. So then you just get notified every time.
Yes.
And other than that, good luck out there in the heat, anyone that's in the Northern Hemisphere. Hope people are not freezing their ass off in
the Southern Hemisphere,
Australia and New Zealand. But have a great week. See you. Thank you so much for listening to the Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening so you're always up to date with the latest finance and investing news.
And feel free to leave a comment to let us know what you thought about this episode, because we would love your feedback.
We've got new Curve Weekly episodes for you to listen to every Monday, but until then, listen to Erasing the Curve. These are our in-depth podcast episodes where we chat about all things money.
We're also around all week on socials if you're hungry for more Curve content, and all the links are in this podcast's show notes. We hope you have a great week, and we'll catch you for the next episode of the Curve Weekly on Monday.
Okay, quickly, the Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.